So hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, my name is Beatrice Ajayi. I'm an artist and I'm based here in Scotland, and I wanted to share the process of me painting this piece here. I have been working on some other ones that I have been expanding on. I did this I think a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to come back and work on it some more. So that is what I'm about to do. And I had some paint laid out here. I might put some more out because it was very useful. And yeah, I'll just get straight into it and then talk about the topic that I have for today, which I will expand on as I start to paint. So let me get that set up and we'll get straight into it. I also want to say thank you to all the subscribers that are signing on to my channel. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me, and we are still even closer yet to that 1,000 for the end of this year. So thank you so much for helping to get closer to my target for that. I really appreciate it. So yeah, my topic for today, guys, as we jump straight into it, is about limitations. I spoke last week about that whole approach of expectations, what people expect of us and how we live through that. And today's is similar, but it's slightly to the side, which is limitations. And these limitations is something that can be personal as well. So limitations can start from anywhere. They can start from something someone said, whether it's a family member or a stranger. They can start because of an experience we had, and maybe there was ridicule or there was embarrassment, and sometimes we hadn't grasped at the time, but for something that we hadn't grasped at the time, but further down the line, you've had more experience, and actually you're very capable of doing, that task that maybe at the time seemed really hard, but the experience you had around that has limited the way you go on to approach that into the future. So some things still hold you back when it comes to possibly like creativity or different skills you might have in your life that you don't end up using because of what people say or what people have said in the past. And so I'm going to discuss that today. This month we have been talking about the different things that hold us back as artists, as creative people. And I think sometimes, it can be that somebody said something and that person might no longer be in your space and no longer in the environment that you're in. Maybe you're even in a different country. It was something that happened at school and now you're an adult, or it could be something that happened in your work environment and it has ended up staying in your head. They've left the room, they're no longer in your space, but it is still something that when you go to try and achieve that skill or try to be creative in that way, you remember that experience. You remember their facial expression. You remember the conversation they had. Sometimes it was amongst other people. There were other people in the environment, and you're just really discouraged by the response that was given. And these limitations for me are that I'm discussing are negative things. It's not something that's enabling you. A limitation to me is something that holds you back, restricts you. And basically the responses of others has made you shrink back from doing something that's on your heart, from doing something that you dream about and you would love to actually engage in. But you end up not following that path. You don't end up chasing it. We don't even try to attempt to get to the destination that our hearts and our minds want us to get to. So I don't think that's a good thing. I think that if you have a gift, if you have a talent, if you have a skill, because of past experiences and you don't, push into that, then you don't expand on it because of what someone has said. That's not a good thing because that is your life. And that person may no longer be around you. And still we hear their voice every time we attempt to follow that dream. And every time we try to, go towards that skill, maybe it's to take an art class, a dance class, a singing class, in the creative aspect. And their voices are crippling you. They can be paralyzing. So how do we go about thinking about these things? How do we recognize that this is a situation, that there's something we love, but because of the voices in our heads from all those experiences, our passion is no longer something that we can follow? Since I was young, I've always felt like I have this passion for being creative. And there have been voices. There have been people in the past that have had a different response. They've had interesting facial expressions to me, when I've told them I'm an artist or I want to study art. But if I'd listened to them, then I wouldn't be experiencing the joy that I experience right now in my creative journey. And that would have been harrowing to know that there's something else I would have wanted to do and never to be able to achieve it. I mean, think about if you got on a train and you're headed somewhere and you meet a stranger on that train and you guys start having a conversation about, where you're headed on your journey. They tell you where they're going, you tell them where you're going. And when you've told them where you're going, their response isn't what you expected. They give you a negative response, and you then now decide after that conversation to step off the train, to go back to where you started your journey and not to actually make it to that destination anymore. That wouldn't make sense, would it? I mean, if we met a stranger on a train and through our discussion, we ended up getting off that train and not going to our destination, it would be considered an odd thing to do. But that, I feel, is similar to how we can end up not being able to achieve our dreams and our passion. When I'm talking about dreams, I'm not talking about something floaty in the sky. I'm talking about you have a skill, you have a gift, you have a talent, and not reaching out to hold on to that, not acknowledging that this is part of who you are, is not a good thing. I feel like we all have a right of being on this planet, and we all have a right to follow our gifts and follow our talents. And regardless of who around us is telling us that our specific talent isn't worth anything, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's just never landed correctly for me. Since I was a kid from school, I'm the oldest of 8, and I've always been passionate about art. Since I was young, it's just always been in there. I would draw in the buses going anywhere. I'd be writing stories in my head. I was always creative wherever I was, on the train, in my lunch breaks, I'd be sketching away. I've never let it go, that creativity. It's just always been part of who I am. And yeah, I feel like it would be like amputating your arm. It would be a very painful thing. And you would always have that faint, they talk about the phantom itch. You would have that itch that there's something you wanted to do, and you didn't do it because of what was said in the past, because of experiences in the past. So the limitations that I'm talking about here are personal. It's like we actually have the key to open the cage that we're in. We can open the door and step out of it. But how do we decide to do that? How do we push through that whole limiting situation? That it's an emotional thing. It is. It's a pain. It's like you're having to push through pain. You're having to push through rejection. You're having to push through disappointment for some people. Sometimes family can be the pressure. But at the end of the day, all these things can be negative experiences. But I look at it like, even from today, we can take steps to make that limitation go away, to break up the bonds that we ourselves have actually put over ourselves, because our lives are our own. So from a creative perspective and this discussion, there's so many ways we can have limitations in our lives. And I am not talking about the really serious ones, which might need assistance from professionals on a different level. But when it comes to, I feel, skills and creativity, we are the only ones that can have the power over that. To say enough is enough. I love to do this thing. And you have the freedom to book yourself into that dance class, book yourself into that music class, book yourself into that art class, whatever it is, sailing. I don't know, I always come up with what seems to be, I feel like, really, stereotypically posh things to do, sailing, horse riding. Whatever it is that you love to do, golfing, I'm trying to think of other stuff, bowling, even if it's sports, whatever it is you have in your heart to do, don't let the words of the past, don't let the voices of the past to limit you, to hold you, to encage you, to restrict you, to paralyze you. I feel like this discussion I'm having now is like a permission to start walking in that direction, get back on that train, and to reach your destination. When we're on that train, there are different stops. There'll be different situations where maybe you had to stand through the journey. You couldn't you couldn't sit down, you had to stand. All sorts of things on those journeys that can be quite complicated, but it's to stay the course. And even if the train crawls to its destination, at least you get there. So I feel like that's what the conversation was in my head for this time, is just to talk about limitations and how we should just let them go. We should just try and do what it is we have on our heart. Because every single one of us have something to bring to the table. That's what I feel. I love to learn from people. I love to meet people and engage with them, and to just get to know all the different beings that are on this planet of ours. It's such a big planet. It's a big world. And so many interesting people. And I would never want to be restricted in what I feel I love to do. So I don't think anybody else should. And so if you have something on your heart to do creatively, as my channel says, Be Creative TV, be creative. Whatever it is you have to do, whatever skill, talent, gift you have, I want you to use it. I want you to use it. So I know that there might be other voices from people that you love, from friendships, from authorities. I just want you to know that I personally, myself, want you to be able to use your skill, to use your talent, because I know that it will inspire, it will assist other people around you, it will bless other people around you. And not to listen to voices that say, nope, that's not what you should do, there's no point, that's not who you are. You know who you are, and you know what your interests are. And people will love what you do at the end of it. So, that's all I wanted to talk to you about limitations today. I don't know what the next topic will be that I can figure out to talk about in these videos. But yeah, I've been enjoying drawing a lot recently and painting in my sketchbook. So this sketchbook painting of this girl that we have here in front of us is a beautiful one. I really love it, basically, and I am glad I get to share it with you. And I'm really buckling into my technique on this. I'm really enjoying working on my sketchbooks. And thank you for spending the time with me on this and listening to me. And I really hope that your joy returns in whatever skill that you have, and that you break out of whatever limitations, whatever restrictions are in your heart, that you step into them and your complete self in this area of creativity. And that you realize how amazing it is in a journey for you to go on. That is all I would want for you, as I do for myself. So I will see you guys next week. And as I said before, I'm releasing them on Sundays, these videos. So I will see you next Sunday. So bye for now. Bye bye.